Oh, it's been a long week. When Zack Snyder's Justice League was officially announced last Wednesday, I literally had other things to worry about and do in those 2 to 3 days where the internet exploded over this announcement. And due to me having a somewhat heavy work week this past week, I literally have not had time to answer so many people's questions about what I think about the Snyder Cut finally coming to light. Now that I have some time, let's just talk about it. Welcome back, Gothamites. If you're new here, hi. I'm London, aka History of the Batman. On May 20th, during a Man of Steel watch party with director Zack Snyder, it was announced that the urban legend of the Snyder Cut would finally be released on HBO Max in 2021. And the reactions and the responses to this announcement were both positive and negative when it came to what this elusive cut would mean to the current cinematic universe, if anything, and what was all missing from the original Justice League film that came out in 2017 that fans just know should have been in there. And they finally get to see Zack Snyder's full vision for his film. For this video to try to answer as many questions as I can, not just about the response to the Snyder Cut being released, but also what the Snyder Cut is if you have absolutely no idea what everyone is talking about. I wanted to give a mini background on how this whole Snyder Cut movement, the film itself, and everything came to be, and why this movie being completed will in the future be remembered for more negative things than just fan service gone good, and why the reception of that is very important moving forward for the progression of this industry and the DC fandom as a whole. But before we dive into a frenzy of a fandom, why don't you subscribe to this channel and become part of this wonderful Gothamite community? I don't know why my hands were kind of weird there, but you know what to do. So let's start with some background. The original Justice League film, which has credits from Zack Snyder to Joss Whedon coming in to complete the project, was released in theaters in the US by Warner Bros. On November 17th, 2017. 2 days after this release, Roberto Matta, or Mata, I'm sorry if I pronounce it incorrectly, made a change.org petition to Warner Brothers titled Zack Snyder's Director's Cut and Tom Holkenborg, aka Junkie XL's score for home release. If you want to read the entire petition, I will put it in the description below right at the top. But the now closed petition that gained almost 180,000 signatures opens with Roberto saying how sad he is, along with other DC fans, once Justice League hit the big screen just 2 days prior, because it wasn't the film they were expecting. And because, according to Roberto, this fandom have supported Warner Brothers, DC Films, Zack Snyder, and the cast and crew with going to theaters and giving multiple viewings to DC movies, and even defended DC films in the public domain. Whew. A lot to unpack with that last sentence, but I will keep going. But this, and this reason alone, is why Roberto and other DC fans are asking for a director's cut. And then the petition further goes to explain why the areas of both writing and the score made the Justice League film that was currently in theaters for just 2 days, but currently in theaters, just was not up to par with what the fans deserved. Roberto rounding out this petition, saying that because him and DC fans were so invested in the universe created within the DC extended universe, that they need to see Zack Snyder's original vision for the Justice League film. Once the change.org petition went viral and gained traction, the website for SnyderCut.com appeared out of nowhere, which in early 2018 led to DC Snyder fans going to Burbank to march on the Warner Brothers studio lot demanding for the Snyder Cut. because that is the film that the fans deserve. That and that reason alone is why the ForSnyderCut.com popped up, and that the marches, and that there is a group coming together that are demanding that Warner Brothers give them Snyder's version of the Justice League film, because they felt that they were rightfully wronged not seeing his vision. After all this began, members from the Justice League ensemble cast, from Jason Momoa, who portrayed Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, to Ray Fisher, who portrayed Victor Stone, aka Cyborg, were continually saying in interviews and on their social media that they would love to see Zack Snyder's version of the Justice League film. And to boost the momentum of this fan rally cry, Zack Snyder himself on the app Vero would from time to time release stills and photos of either the cast or filming when he was on the project, which gave people who are fans of his work and are fans of seeing what he would do with the movie much more hype to try to get this now unicorn of a cut of a movie to come to light. All of this fanfare really was throughout 2018, and really up until late 2019, the Snyder Cut movement was in full swing across all social media, predominantly using the hashtag #ReleaseTheSnyderCut, making outside appearances at Comic-Cons, and even buying out billboards in major cities requesting to release the Snyder Cut. A very dedicated group continually added Warner Brothers, DC on the daily, demanding that Warner Brothers release Zack Snyder's Justice League cut. But despite the revamping happening in front of our very eyes of the DC Extended Universe, from films getting added and scraped to the lineup of actors over the last 3 years, confirming that their time within the DCEU is finished, the Snyder Cut movement continued to be really loud online, and groups within the movement would continually attack those who either had logical questions about where the Snyder Cut is and how this would help progress the current DC cinematic universe, and just had questions of whether or not this complete film even exists. Although many sources, including Kevin Smith, said Zack Snyder's film was not complete to any form of the imagination and was not ready for mass consumption, which means it was not ready to be released in theaters or released on a digital service, or literally for anyone to see it and think that it is a full, complete movie, because it does not exist. But even though there were many facts to support that, the Snyder Cut movement continued to be really loud about the fact that the movie is complete and Warner Brothers just needs to give the people what they want and to just release the movie. Now, almost 3 years later since the original Justice League hit theaters, it was finally confirmed by Warner Brothers and DC Comics that fans will get to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is what it is officially called, on the brand new digital service HBO Max, which was just launched this week, and sometime next year in 2021, costing over $30 million to complete, not just to touch up a finished film, that is a very important fact to know, but to complete the project, making it either a 4-hour movie or it will be a limited series with 6 episodes. Snyder Cut is officially greenlit and we will be able to watch it sometime next year. Now, there are some good and bad parts to this whole Zack Snyder's Justice League coming to HBO Max. But let's talk a little bit about the bad, because I know this is why you probably clicked on this video, and I don't want to disappoint you. The biggest problem out of anything that you can think of when it comes to Zack Snyder's Justice League becoming a thing is that the toxicity in fandoms are being acknowledged and even rewarded with this project coming to life. And that alone has multiple layers. But I will start off with this point that I really want everyone to understand. Not everyone who wanted to see Zack Snyder's Justice League falls into the bad side of fandoms. I know people in real life that are very excited to see what Snyder's cut is going to be, that either are big fans of Zack Snyder's previous work, really enjoyed the vibe and the chemistry between the members of the Justice League, and of course, being me, I know people who loved Ben Affleck's Batman and are just glad to see more of it on film. And those normal reasons for them being excited that Snyder Cut is coming in 2021, I personally am very, very happy, like genuinely happy for the people who just wanted to see his film. And I honestly hope that it is everything that you wanted in this elusive director's cut. Unfortunately, no matter how this plays out, and what I mean by that is whether Zack Snyder's director's cut gives some type of major change or important addition to the current cinematic universe that we have right now with DC, or is this just the equivalent to fan service and will be just an extra piece of media to watch within all of the DC universe? What will be remembered most in all of this is the hashtag Release the Snyder Cut movement, how a larger part of that movement, larger than what is healthy within the fandom, to say the least, larger than it should be, was annoying, loud, and for the most part, really selfish. As I noted earlier in our Snyder Cut background, the change.org petition, the website, and the beginning of the hashtag movement itself began due to fans believing, because they went to see movies like Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad multiple times in theaters and out loud online supported the companies, that they deserve an entirely different movie than what hit theaters in November of 2017. But not because of the fact that on March 12th, 2017, Zack Snyder's daughter, Autumn, took her own life, which led to Snyder leaving post-production work on the Justice League film in May of 2017 to grieve with his family, which all led to Joss Whedon and other people coming on the project to complete the movie. That is the reason why this whole Justice League movie wasn't what the fans deserved, because a real life person, this man, his wife, their family lost someone so precious and important to them, their own daughter. But all that the loud fans wanted was to whine about what they didn't get out of a fictional universe. And now, because very, very recently that the Snyder Cut movement is donating money to give more awareness to suicide prevention, do not get me wrong, is a very good cause. And because that they are using this cause to say that they have been down for this cause since the beginning of the change.org petition, 2 days after the movie that they didn't come out. That's what's BS to me. Anyone that I have spoken to that is all in with the Snyder Cut movement, like not just liking the idea of seeing Snyder's work, but like one of those really hardcore, like super stans of Snyder's work that want this cut and like reply on every single thread, hashtag Release the Snyder Cut, you know, that basically the ones on the toxic end of the spectrum. I want to make that very clear, because I don't want you to think that I'm talking about literally anybody who wants to see the Snyder Cut, because most of the people luckily aren't part of the toxicity of trying to get a movie to be greenlit, which I think is probably one of the pros that I see in this whole thing. The toxic Snyder side of this, they want to pretend that since the beginning they cared about Snyder and the loss of his child first and foremost, which is why they started this whole movement. And yeah, that is literally why I am just not a fan of this entire thing, because many of the people who do fall into the toxic spectrum want you to act like this whole campaign started like 20 years ago and maybe some people weren't around to see it. And it's like, no, this is less than 3 years ago. We all were witnessing what happened. You can't lie and say the reason why all this began was to help Snyder in his time of need. Nah, like, no. People sitting there typing that this whole movement is 100% healthy and a good thing for the industry and has been fighting for good causes this entire time are just full of BS. I'm so sorry. I don't think that you're telling the truth. Like, maybe you believe it because you've said it for the last 3 years, so in your mind you think that this whole time you've been doing good. But no, the reason why all of this started was just for selfish, childish reasons. But what's really funny about all of that is that now the Snyder Cut movement honestly believes that they're the reason why Snyder's cut of Justice League has finally been greenlit to be on HBO Max. And not because of more logical reasons why that this is actually gonna exist finally, which is probably because Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder have had a really good working relationship with one another for several years. And now Snyder, after a few years since the death of his daughter, is probably in a better mental state to be able to work on a project that he will probably forever link with Autumn's death. And also not because of the fact that WarnerMedia knows that these subscriptions are going to go through the roof once anything related to Snyder Cut begins to hit the platform next year. And since this is a brand new streaming service, they need to have as much content, whether right now or in the future, as possible to get people to spend that $14.99 a month to be able to actually watch the Snyder Cut. No. It's not those really logical reasons why this is happening. No, it's because you guys decided to at Warner Brothers every day and they were like, oh, well, let's give the people what they want because they haven't been annoying. But because the Snyder Cut movement, the toxic part of those people, are just saying, we won, this is happening, see, we did this. Now, other fandoms are out here saying, I want a director's cut of this movie, I want a new movie of this, I wish we can get this movie. And really, most of the time, you making up a hashtag and just tweeting like 10 or 12 times that you want something typically does not result in you getting a full ass movie. And that by itself just seems I don't know. It just doesn't really seem normal because that's just not how movies work. Obviously, companies listen to fans. They do, but do they act on what fans want or don't want? If it doesn't flow into the ideas that the creatives have on the project, then like, no. It is very easy to discuss the negatives surrounding the Snyder Cut movement because it really has been selfish and just loud since the very beginning. Literally since opening weekend of Justice League back in November 2017. It's crazy. And that to me is really unfortunate because, as I said, the people who are normal, who aren't out here like yelling and screaming about a cut or whatever, that just like Snyder's work or want to see more of the Justice League or want to have more development for those characters in the film, or if they want to see the big baddies such as Darkseid, all of those reasons and more, that's fine. If you are excited about that, I have zero problem with people being excited about those things. I do think that that is fantastic for fans to see their favorite mythologies played out the way that they would really want to experience this IP. What's not fantastic is seeing the bad side of the fandom. That can arguably be a smaller part of the whole desire for this Snyder Cut. Celebrating this victory of sorts. And who still act like arrogant children who think that whining about a movie that they think they deserve showcases that they have some type of power in saying what major studios should do with their respected IP. That really makes it hard to be a fan of all of this in the first place when you aren't a representation of toxicity within this nerd space. And honestly, because I'm being very honest with you guys today, toxic base of the movement and what I've seen many times over the last almost 3 years literally makes me not care about watching Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm sure that I will probably get hyped like the week it's gonna be released, or even the first time we see whatever trailer they're creating for this. And sure, my interest will probably be piqued. And as I've said in the past, because I have talked about the Snyder Cut only for like 10 minutes in my history of canceled Batman films video, which I'll link in the description below if you are curious about learning about canceled Batman films, or if you want to see my initial thoughts that I had on the Snyder Cut, which was back in August of 2019, I believe. And as I said in that video, if for some reason the Snyder Cut is happening and does become a thing, and they say they're going to be released either on iTunes or somewhere else on a streaming service, which it just so happened to be HBO Max, of course I'll watch it, because I am still a fan of all of these characters and everything. And sure, I would like to see the Justice League develop more. I would like to see some more of Ben Affleck's Batman, since I know he's not coming back as Batman for like a full movie. And I don't understand why people think that because this Snyder Cut is coming next year, that this man who officially said, I am done with being Batman in new movies, is just gonna come and sign a new contract and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this movie. I honestly don't think that that's gonna be a thing. I know you can throw lots of money at somebody and give them an enticing contract and they're like, okay, I'll come back and do a movie. Totally possible. I mean, if Warner Bros. Is giving over $30 million for this cut, then I wouldn't be surprised if they did throw money at Ben Affleck or even Henry Cavill, who has been reported this week that he is going to make a cameo in either Aquaman 2 or Shazam 2 or even Black Adam that is coming in the future, which very cool. Just at this very moment, I don't care. And honestly, I wish I did, because the way that sites, whether they're like Yahoo or like comicbook.com or whatever, are talking about the possibilities of what all this Snyder Cut stuff means every day, multiple articles, I wish I was hyped, because I literally see it everywhere, but I just could care less. And all of the negativity that I have seen or even feel in myself about this movement has nothing to do with Zack Snyder's work. It doesn't have anything to do with the people at Warner Brothers or even DC Comics, because they made a decision to comply with Snyder stepping away from the project, because not everyone is a selfish monster who doesn't see the fact that this man is hurting from the loss of his daughter. So they're like, yes, please step away and grieve with your family, because that's normal. He is not thinking about Darkseid. He is not thinking about Superman in the black suit with the beard and the mullet and looking like early 90s Death of Superman. This is why I don't talk about the Snyder Cut, because it literally annoys me to the point where I'm pissed now and I'm having a good day. So that's one of the reasons why I literally don't indulge in all of this more often. I don't, because it sucks in a way. Seeing all of the negative stuff and seeing something, even if it's a little thing toxic, progress and become larger and become louder, that sucks being a fan, especially being someone who represents the Batman fandom and DC fandom on both my regular level and even working with other companies such as Warner Brothers and DC Comics. It's very bittersweet actually that this cut for me is coming to life, because it's great, like I said, for the regular fans who wanted to see this for years, but it also sucks that the toxic fans get to see this after wanting it for years. It's not fully like, yay, it's just not. But hey, you know, maybe since the toxic spectrum of the release the Snyder Cut people are finally getting what they have been protesting and marching and adding on social media for almost 3 years, can finally stop pretending that they have been trying to raise awareness for suicide prevention since day one. Maybe, just maybe, that positive can come out of this and they can stop acting like they care about real issues. Just because they saw Batman v Superman a few times in theaters and think that they deserve a whole other movie. As if they signed some really lengthy contract with Warner Brothers that states that they deserve and should get this particular movie, because that's how things work, right? Maybe they won't be so narcissistic about all this, but as I have seen after a little bit over a week that this was announced, that's not happening so far. But as I always say, I try to look at the positive in any situation because I really am a very optimistic person in general. I'm sure that this Snyder Cut Justice League film will bring more depth to the characters that we were introduced to in this film and the other DC Extended Universe films. And of course, the threat of Darkseid that will be presented in this cut could totally spill over into future cinematic movies for DC Comics. And we'll probably see Easter eggs or mentions from this cut of the movie in future movies. Who knows? It could have more of an influence on the future of where DC and Warner Bros. Are going with this IP than we know. Hey, this Zack Snyder's Justice League could totally influence how we watch those other films, which I am totally fine with. I am. Do I think that it's going to have a large impact? No, I don't. I honestly, I don't. I'm totally here to see how this all will play out. And like I said, if you are someone who is very, very excited about seeing Zack Snyder Justice League, please don't let my annoyance with a particular group and them representing the fandom stop you from going to watch the movie next year. I want everyone to go see it because it's a DC film, so why wouldn't you, especially if you are a fan of the DC films or DC Comics? Please keep watching stuff. Like, it's fine. I suppose I just don't like when the bad side of fandoms gets so much shine, I suppose, because that just makes everything else that is actually good and positive about this whole project just be buried by this campaign that a lot of times was not great. And I think that's why no matter what this movie does to the current cinematic universe or how good it is or anything of that nature, I think the legacy of this whole thing is just going to be stamped with the hashtag release the Snyder Cut and just the madness and the bad stuff that is tied to it. But I will leave you with this though. What if after all this time, after 3 years, gonna be 4 years maybe by the time it comes out next year, what if this sucks? What if this Zack Snyder's Justice League isn't what you wanted? What if it's just not great? What if it's just not the best film that you just knew it was gonna be? Then what? Thank you guys so much for watching this history and commentary on Zack Snyder's Justice League, which will be hitting HBO Max in 2021. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a bat thumbs up. As always, all of my social media is linked in the description below, including Instagram at History of Batman. So why don't you give it a follow and become a Gothamite? Check out my other Batman videos on this channel. Oh, and of course, please subscribe to this channel so you can become a part of this Batman community. It would mean so much to me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will have more History of the Batman soon right here on YouTube. Remember, Gothamites, all about peace, love, and Batman. Bye. What?